3,
two,
2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 36 of the Resurrected When It Is You podcast. As ever, my name is David, and I am sitting, insert Oscar's joke here, miles across from Mr. Alex Aldridge. How are you today, Alex?
Get your podcast name out your fucking mouth, sir.
Yes. Good
Hang on,
man.
wait. Get my fucking... No, wait, I can't do the quote right. Get my podcast name out your fucking mouth, sir.
Oh,
I'm doing well. I'm doing much better than Chris Rock's cheek.
yeah,
Sure.
much better than the old Will Smith's reputation. I did see, you know how the Will Smith on Twitter, at Will Smith, is actually a video game developer?
Yeah. 'Cause
He's been getting tagged
Giant
in a
Bomb.
hell of a lot of things over the last 24 hours.
Not quite as bad as the guy from Steps, whose name is Ian Watkins.
Oh no!
But it's close. Is it close? I don't know. Oh man, what a time to be alive!
What a
Episode
time to be
36. My
alive.
recent age as of last weekend.
Your recent age, yeah. So, well, probably then, from as of the end of this episode, the podcast will forever be older than us. Because I can't imagine we're going
a year to do the next.
Yeah,
one.
I was going to say, I can't imagine we're going to catch up on the episodes.
Yeah, good point. I don't know why it took me so long to do that maths in my head. Just like, yeah, but it's going to go up. It's like next one's 37, and that's my next stage. And then I thought, wait, it's not your next stage for 359 days or whatever it is.
Although it depends how many, I guess it's a peek behind the curtain for the housekeeping at the end, but it depends how many Elden Ring podcasts we end up doing. So it might be like episode 37.99999.
Good point. Yeah, episode 37 recurring.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just realised you're drinking a nice rum and coke out of a nice Zelda glass.
Thanks to my sister.
That
Yes.
is an excellent glass.
I think it actually says my name on it
That's
as well.
Alex. Zelda Alex.
Yeah, she's quite good. She sometimes goes off my Amazon. She goes not off my list. It's hard to put this in the correct phrasing. She goes away from my Amazon list almost every occasion, and she normally hits it out of the park. Yeah, she normally does quite well.
Good effort.
She got me a nice check shirt, overshirt this year. That it's half a jacket, half a shirt.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of those.
I've wanted one for a while, but they're normally really thick and make you look like some kind of lumberjack, and I don't want to go that far.
No, you're not wanting to go full manly.
No, I'll start slapping people when they insult my wife if I go that far.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't slap anybody for calling somebody bald, because
When it's a factually correct statement.
yeah,
It's the worst joke to get offended by as well, isn't it? It wasn't even like he went, "Ha, look at your wife, she's a cunt." He just said G.I. Jane because it wasn't a good joke. It wasn't.
I mean, yeah, the alopecia angle kind of makes it a bit harsh, but
yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was a bad joke. It was bad. It
was pointless, but yeah.
It's definitely a cheap shot.
Has he done the Oscars before? I think he's been quite
know.
regular, hasn't he?
Not
Because
sure.
it feels like the Oscars aren't supposed to be about taking digs at people like that. That's like the Golden Globes and Ricky Gervais's
That's Ricky Gervais's bag.
forte. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it did strike me as odd that they're doing the Oscars and then ragging on people's wives. But you don't sucker punch a man with a bitch slap.
It was such a good pitch slap.
Well, I was saying as well to some people earlier, it's funny how he stomped on the floor as he did it, it's a wrestling punch. Like Jim Cornette would be having a right rage at him for exposing the business on that one.
It's so odd. The room was so weird as well, because it was until he
there was laughter for a bit.
Yeah, until he got violent, everyone thought this was some sort of skit, because again, such a stupid overreaction to what what was actually being said and done.
Well, there was still laughter after he'd slapped him. And then once he started swearing at him, people kind of were like, okay. And there's a thing, because I've watched this quite a few times today, where after he says for the second time, "Get my wife's name out your fucking mouth," Chris Rock says, "I'm going to, all right? Or I could..." Nah. It's almost like he was so close to having a fight back at him. I don't know what he was going to say. I could get my wife's name out of your mouth if she gets your son's friends' penises out of hers. I don't know what he was going to say. But you know what? Chris Rock has just been slapped an absolute golden ticket for whenever he does a Netflix special next, because that
Yep.
that is going to break fucking records.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's he was right in what he said, and like really, like to be fair to the guy, like he thought well on his feet, and he finished the thing. Where he's like, oh well, that's just the best thing that's ever happened on live TV, and he's spot on. It's just massive.
Yeah.
Do you think Will Smith has any repercussions for this other than a bit of faux outrage for a while?
Well, I think as we discussed earlier in WhatsApp, he should have been escorted from the building. That should have been the first repercussion. The second one should have been pressing charges against him.
Yeah.
To make an example of him. But Chris Rock apparently doesn't want to do that. And now it's just a case of, does anybody work with him again? Which I'm sure they will.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, at the end of the day, like, he shouldn't have done what he shouldn't have done it, but he's not murdered someone. That was just a cheap shot overreaction. I mean, like,
yeah,
I can think back to my life and I've had absolutely ridiculous overreactions to things. I've never smacked anyone on live TV overreacted, but that's just because of my job.
Hit anybody.
So, yeah, I don't want to crucify the guy, but also that's not okay. Like, you're right. Like, at minimum, he should have been escorted from the building and he shouldn't have been allowed to receive his reward.
Yeah. And then make a speech where he kind of cries to get some sympathy for it.
I'm up for hearing an argument that they take it off him, but if they're not wanting to take it off him, at minimum he shouldn't get to. Because even his apology was so shit. Like,
it was rank. You said it was rank earlier, which I thought was spot on.
He was just trying to justify himself, and he's just like, "Oh, if I cry, people will feel sorry for me."
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
2 seconds. I'm just going to close my door.
Okay.
But yeah, I suspect there'll be a bit of outrage for a while, and then things will just go back to normal. I'm interested to see.
Not for the historical recollection of when he won his first Oscar. That will forever be tarnished. He's got to live with that.
I'm interested to see, like, they'll probably just stay silent and say nothing. But see, if I was like one of the Williams family, like him trying to say he was like the character he played in the movie.
I know.
Because he went up on stage and punched someone because of a bad joke. Like, no, you weren't.
I guess I'm like Serena Williams' dad, right, Serena? Just sat there in the crowd like, what?
No, you're not.
I'm guessing he was supposed to be a dickhead. That's the point of the film, is it? Is he a dickhead?
I've not seen the film. It's not.
I don't think he was like Michael Jackson dad bad, but
I'm assuming he was
hard on him.
Yeah, hard on him, pushy, tends to be quite common, right?
Yeah, for people who are very successful at a sport. I hear Andy Murray's mum used to shoot him with a BB gun or something. That was lies.
Do you think Samus?
I'm pretty sure she was on some. Was she on some? Oh God, no! Go on. Stop because you had a segue. Go.
Do you think Samus's mum or dad would have been pushy into forcing her into the mech suit life?
Do you think that the Metroid's mum was pushy into making her offspring go in Samus? I don't know. Samus is well, fun fact, Samus was listed as he all through the first manual of the first Metroid.
Oh, was he?
Well, look at that bait and switch. Got him.
Maybe we've got a Jim Sterling video coming on this then.
Yeah, maybe it's like Birdo, because remember Birdo's listed as basically trans, isn't it? Samus obviously basically silent protagonist except for the beginning of this game, which we'll get to later, where she like tells you what's going on. But once Other M came out on the Wii, Samus started having loads of voice lines, and everybody hates her now.
Oh, do they?
As that character, they basically like ruined.
What's
it
her
and made
personality
her into this, like, whiny little twat?
Is she?
Oh, she was
okay.
Yeah, she was
in my head,
really
she's
bad.
just a bit of a like John 117.
She should be like that, but they made her like ditzy and whiny, and everyone just couldn't believe they like butchered this heroine that they'd made up to be, enigmatic and awesome.
You just have to look at like there's precedent for this type of character in popular.
Well, all of it's based off Alien.
Like make sci-fi then make 7 of 9 from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Just like there are characters that exist like this that you could have pulled upon, and we do know like Japanese game developers love to pull from American media.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I didn't really think about it as too much until I started looking into this. But yeah, I mean, there are key plot points from Alien that are followed throughout the Metroid series. You know, you've got
Oh, really?
so I mean, even the thing where the Metroid 2, the one that's before this, where Ridley in Aliens goes to the planet to try and rid them from the galaxy, which is what Samus does in Metroid 2. She goes to planet SR388 to wipe out the Metroids, and that's where she gets hold of that Metroid baby that she then takes to this lab at the beginning of this game, and then obviously Ridley and his space pirates break in and steal it, and she chases Ridley off to their former homeworld. And then there's stuff like, you know, them spitting acids is what they start doing in the third game. And then is it Alien? You've watched them all recently for our previous pod. Ripley, fucking hell. That's not the last time I'm going to do that.
That's got to be deliberate as well then, if they're doing it.
No, it's after Ridley Scott, the director of Alien.
Ah, right, okay. Ripley Scott.
Yeah, Ripley gets alien DNA in her in the fourth film, like she does.
Yeah, and what that does
Metroid
is it gives
games.
her super strength and she gets black nails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the fourth game, which is Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance, Samus gets Metroid
Injected
DNA
by
in
Metroided.
Yeah.
I was saying this is like 2 podcasts in a row that we've got odd jellyfish floating about.
Well, and there's Elden Ring coming up, so that's going to be free, isn't it?
Yeah. Love a jellyfish. This is apparently pop in the media these days.
Yeah. Yeah, they are weird, aren't they? They are horrible to get rid of for a while because you're supposed to freeze them and then shoot them with a missile. But
I had a tough time with them. I basically just
couldn't get them off
them.
me sometimes.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I had real problems with it. Basically, when you're going down to the final boss and you keep encountering them, I basically just had to reload a save every time I got caught by one because I didn't know how to get them off.
I thought you're supposed to roll into a ball and use bombs, but that wasn't working.
Yeah, to me that's the obvious solution, but yeah, it didn't work.
That's worked in other games, but it just doesn't. I couldn't get them off me either, and it basically would kill me.
Yeah,
slowly, really, like 7 or 8 energy tanks worth of slowly plus 2 reserve tanks. Like, oh my god, should have just done a rewind on the Switch version that we were both playing.
You touched on this game being not really very well received. Which makes commercially, which actually makes sense why because I was like, this game is like one of the highest regarded SNES games outside of a Mario.
That it is, yeah.
And I was like, well, that means it must have sold well. There must be plenty of them about. I'll be able to pick myself up a copy of the game. Went on eBay before we started recording this podcast, and they're about 50 quid. So they can't be that.
That's
common.
Madness.
But where was I going with that?
So, like, for the year 1994 when this came out, Donkey Kong Country worldwide sales was 6 million. Street Fighter 2 3.7 million. So that's the second highest. That shows you how well Donkey Kong Country did.
Yeah.
Super Metroid 787,262. Not even a million.
Yeah.
For one of the most critically acclaimed games ever made, and probably one of the most defining games on the SNES. For a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it later, but...
Oh, less than Sonic and Knuckles. No, sorry, Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
I guess we'll get to it later, but like, as a sort of historical timepiece, or like as a historical reference, like it is so far ahead of its time in what it's trying to do and what it's doing.
Well, I didn't actually realise this, because I've never really given the first game a lot of time. I've played I fucking threw rum and coke all over myself. I've played some of Metroid Zero Mission, which is the Game Boy Advance remake of the first one. But the first game and the second game didn't have a map in them.
Whoa. This
is the first Metroid game to have a map like that. And then obviously Castlevania didn't have maps in it at this point either. So really, I don't think the Metroidvania genre...
So were they linear games? Or were you expected to memorize the maps? You know, you were saying they didn't have a map in them. So were they the same layout? You just had to figure it out with graph paper, or
probably
were they linear games?
I assume they were slightly more linear, but Yeah, you had to do a lot of figuring it out.
Ooh.
Because this map, that was one of the first things I was going to talk about, is kind of minimalist but in a really effective way.
Hmm.
Do you think? Did you find the map useful,
Yes.
bewildering?
Yeah, I find it. I guess it's probably just RAM, but I find it a bit frustrating that, or at least I couldn't figure out if I was in a certain area, I couldn't look at the map for other areas. So like if I wanted to backtrack and I was like, oh, I need to go have a look around, I couldn't then look at. So if I was down in the underground section, I
Yes,
couldn't look at the map up top.
that was
I'd
a
have
shame.
to
Like that
go
got me a few
there.
times.
Yeah, and it
Or
that
remember
resulted.
and remember the name of where you actually want to go.
Yeah,
Because sometimes the lifts and things didn't take you where you thought you were going to go.
yeah. I found that frustrating, but I guess it's just that it was a sort of a thing of its time.
Yeah, it's certainly not like that now in more recent ones. But
No.
yeah, you're right. I'd forgotten about that point that I could go up to North or go down to Norfair. All right, well, what does that map look like? I don't know. I hope that's where I need to go.
But it
I
was
was gonna
go on.
I was gonna bring this up earlier, but sorry, later. But Metroid Dread, the most recent game that's come out on the Switch,
Yeah.
does a thing where it basically will block you off backtracking too far.
Oh
You'll
yeah,
get to
I think
quite a
I
few
saw this
areas.
on AI in Games spoke about this.
Yeah, maybe we've seen the same video where it's effectively making itself deceptively linear in a game that doesn't look linear at all, but it is because it's blocking. Whereas this game, you can go right back to the start.
So
There's
for what purpose is it blocking you off? To
probably
try
to
and
avoid people getting
narrow
lost.
confusion, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess at some point you must be able to get back around, can you?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes it will block you off because you need the item then to go back through it again. So it's
So
like
it's stopping
you
you
aren't
missing
going back
items.
until you've got the thing you're here to get.
Okay.
Which is to be commended, but
Yeah.
it's obviously there'll be purists who think that it's too easy or too linear because of that. I was watching a video about this game today, and some guy was going about like, "Oh, I didn't get lost once. The map's so intuitive. It's it's so well designed. I mean, it is designed well, and the way that obviously it shows it in pink if you've visited that area before, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like a purpley grey if you haven't. But I got so lost in this game that I had to look at an IGN guide and effectively redo bits I already knew that I'd done just to make sure I was in the right part of the map to follow the next part of the guide. So
Yeah.
I got so lost.
I
Probably the latter half of the game, not the first half.
I spoke to you about this previously. So I don't like I said to you, this is an entirely me problem. And also a me problem under the circumstances in which we play a lot of these games for these podcasts, because I was aware that I had to get through this for the podcast, and also aware that we had other games on the docket that we were also trying to work through, and also trying to play games that I just want to play. So
Yeah.
I was aware that I had to get through it, and I think that what that resulted in was at times quite a frustrating experience, because I don't know where to go, I don't know where I'm going, I'm totally lost, I've got no idea where I'm meant to go or what even I'm shooting for next. Whereas if I was just playing this, coming to this game organically, especially if we were playing it in, what, when did it come in, 93, 94?
I thought, yeah.
I would have been 6 or 7 when it came out, so it would have been like, oh, this is the game you get for your birthday, you
It's
better
gonna last you
enjoy
the rest
it
of the year,
because
innit? Yeah.
yeah, you've got 6 months to wait till Christmas. So that would have been a much different place, and especially because less games came out, you
Yeah.
did spend longer on these games. So I can see sort of, it's one of these things that I've been sort of trying to think about when I've been out with the dogs in my head, about how much, like if someone went, would you recommend Super Metroid to someone? I would perhaps recommend Super Metroid to someone like you or I don't think I would recommend it to someone that just had a sort of passing interest in games or just played the sort of new releases. But I think my 2022 recommendation would come from a sort of not nostalgic, historical perspective. Like, I feel like I understand the sort of origin of the series a bit more, and I understand like looking at it compared to other games of that era. I find it really interesting and fascinating, and enjoyed sort of watching how the games became what they are today. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you can see a lot of that in this.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah.
But and this is the thing that I was struggling with, and why I'm sort of I know I'm sort of like tying myself up in knots because half of me is saying this was a fantastic game, half of me is saying I find it deeply frustrating. Like the obtuseness was getting on my nerves, but also I'm playing games just now where that are obtuse as well that aren't getting on my nerves, which makes me think it's just the environment in which I came to this game. Does that
Deadline
make
enforced
sense?
impatience.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
Because I think if you like the Metroids, if you've gone out and bought the one on the Switch
This is the
or the
only
one that
Metroid game
came out
I've ever
3DS,
played. This is the only Metroid game I've ever played, which I think is why I
yeah,
find it so interesting.
yeah, because I think if you played the Switch game this year
Mm-hmm.
or last year, and you told somebody to go back and play this one,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any way they wouldn't enjoy it as well
Mm-hmm.
because it's pretty timeless in how it manifests itself and how
Yeah.
it plays. You can, obviously it's more primitive than something that we're going to play now, including the more recent Metroid games, but things like the atmosphere, the map design, the progression, the controls, all of those things really haven't taken that much of a hit other than maybe the weapon selecting with the select button, which really fucked me off.
I found the jumping quite difficult to maneuver.
Metroid games do have a very floaty jump about them,
Mm.
which takes a lot of getting used to. It's quite, and especially once you get the, hang on, what's it called? Is it the high jump?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
High jump boots. Yeah, they are. They make almost the normal sections of the game needlessly harder than they were. When you're gonna try and avoid enemies, and you don't, or there's like lava you don't want to jump in because you can't just make a massive jump over it. The intricate platforming gets harder when you get the upgrade for the jump because you're jumping higher and you've got to control yourself more. And then, of course, there's your favorite part where you get the space jump / screw attack, which seems to be
inconsistent.
I don't know, one of the yeah, it's either inconsistent or it's one of like the most perfectionist mechanics that's ever been created, and it expects nothing of you but utmost skill and perfection to get it right, or you are dropping like a fucking stone and you can't jump ever again.
I found difficult was starting it. So like once I had done like 2, it was easy and it just kept doing it, and but then it was getting it to do 2 that I was finding difficult at times, and like I just couldn't recreate. I never was sure what the problem was.
Yeah.
And I find that
I feel like it's been improved in later games, but yeah, you're supposed to do it just before she starts to drop, or just as she starts to drop, but there'd be times when I would be sitting there screaming at it, saying like, "I did that right," and then you're dropping through like a chasm that's going down, and you're landing in acid, and then she jumps slower to get out of the acid, and oh my god,
it's the thing that
this game's not easy.
No, and it's a shame that that jump seemed to be so inconsistent because, like when we were talking about like what this game does and things like that, it's a point in the game when you get this jump that using the jump drastically changes the way the map and the sort of environments can be traversed, and it opens up areas that were just unattainable before, and it just really it's the thing that I like I've said, I'm interested when we start playing one of our next games, Castlevania, because this is just a genre that I think I've played Ori and the Blind Forest a little bit, and that's really it. It's the way that you sort of have, I mean, Dead Space did this to an extent, I think.
It did.
It encourages you to go back to areas and interact with environments in a different way that were previously not the same. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to get at here is
trying to think of other ones that have done that.
Reuse environments, but change the way in which you interact within them, which essentially makes them different. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's a really sort of basic way to describe this, where you kind of say like, oh, you need to get this to open this door, and then you kind of relegate it to like something as like a Doom clone where you need the blue key for the blue key door. But as you're saying, like, you will revisit rooms you've already been in and done something else in, but now you have an ability to do something extra in that room and get a different way around whatever's in there, which is why the design is so much better than it is on the surface of just, oh, well, it blocks you out of the green doors until you get the super missiles and the yellow doors and whatever. But there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, and like, I think like the timing wise, I think it's interesting because like over the last few years, where like Elden Ring and Zelda Breath of the Wild coming along, and then there's been a few games in between. Like, there's a real focus, I feel like, in the games industry to try and redefine what it means to traverse and encourage players to discover things, because there's like
Yeah.
one sect of the AAA industry that is just hell bent on giving us maps filled with icons that you just steadily tick off.
Yep.
That I think that's quite boring now, and I think it's quite saturated to the point that I find it quite uninteresting when games do that. So it was an interesting nod back to, in 1994, here's a way that we've got a map and we encourage players to interact with the environments and explore and enjoy exploring in a way that we've kind of forgotten. I wrote a thing for, I don't think they've put it up yet, but I wrote a thing for Goomba Stomp about Elden Ring.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I wrote it in time for the anniversary of Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, but I think they missed that. So it'll be up at some point, I'm assuming. But
I'm looking forward to this. I didn't know you were doing anything.
Yeah,
like
so I wrote it, and part of what I wrote, it was basically talking about how people are referring to Elden Ring as being this really fresh experience. It's fresh and new and unlike anything. But in this piece, I would say, actually, in my opinion, Elden Ring is as old school as it gets. It's a throwback to really old games and how games used to be. It's not new. This is just something that the games industry has forgotten and is kind of rediscovering. And
Yeah, I think
that's really, really apparent where Super Metroid comes in, because it doesn't guide you at all. But I find myself going into every room, like poking at the corners, setting bombs off in different places, just trying to sort of find my way around. And even, I don't know whether I'm sure it's deliberate, but like, you do things and you think you've cheesed the game when you probably haven't. It's just allowed you to do that, but it makes you feel like you've got one up on the game, and I think that's what good game design is. But
yeah, I think the first Metroid was quite like that as well. But this one, I mean, one example is like the wall jumping, where you need the high jump boots to get to the Kraid fight, but you can actually wall jump off of just the edge of the platform you're supposed to get on. So you can jump up to it and wall jump and get through to Kraid really early. So you can. There are ways to manipulate your way through this game. I guess the speedrun community must have found more. They do a speed. This just seems to be like the most speedrun game that they do at like Games Done Quick and stuff. Every year they do a Metroid race. It seems to have been like the staple of that event.
I bet there's some really short ones, is there?
Because the weirdest thing about the speedrun for Metroid is that you seem to go faster by making her arm cannon go up and down.
Oh.
So they would be running, Castlevania, it's all the back stepping. Yeah. This one is like this, up and down, like with the arm cannon makes her go really fast. Slightly less jarring than seeing a man play the entire game moonwalking.
I think that's funny.
And he's not playing Moonwalker.
We've spoken about this before, because I've never played that game. My entire sort of experience of that game is watching Games Done Quick, and so my memory of Castlevania when people talk about it is just someone moonwalking back and forth across the place. It's such an odd first experience to have of a game.
Yeah. What should we talk about? What have I done? I mean, we could. So what have we done here? I first of all, I had like a list of positives. So we've already talked.
Let's go.
I mean, I've touched on stuff like the atmosphere, but the atmosphere is fucking amazing.
The atmosphere is great.
You can see the alien influences in it, but
I see it now. You said that. I'm annoyed that I didn't pick that up on my own, considering how much Alien I've been watching over the last few months.
Yeah. So you probably won't know this because you've not. This is your first Metroid game, but right at the start of this game, because you go back to Planet Zebes or whatever it's called, Zebes, whatever. That is where you were in the first game, where you defeat Mother Brain.
Okay.
And right at the beginning, when you land on this planet again at the beginning of this game, after you've done the whole Ridley fight when he nicks the thing and then she goes after him, you actually go back to the broken jar where you fought Mother Brain in the game, the first game. So you know the bit where you go down and get the morph ball, and then that weird light shines on you.
Yeah.
All of that is the beginning of Metroid 1.
Oh,
and you're retreading it in a new graphics engine, but apparently the morph ball's in the same place. And if you, like some people have said, I knew exactly where to go because it's where it was in the first Metroid, and it's there again. Oh. And then you're going back for it. That's why you've got all like the broken glass everywhere and all that kind of shit. And then obviously the Metroids then come out after you get the whatever the first upgrade is.
Oh,
They
right,
reveal
okay.
themselves because you destroyed them and their planet before, so you'd expect this to be empty. That's why it kind of is when you get there,
Yeah.
because she flies down, you get out, it's totally empty. Then you go into the room, pick up some upgrade, you go out the door, and then the music kicks in, and then all the enemies are there. And so it's like they've been kind of hiding, waiting for it to come back, sort of thing.
And I hear people referring to space pirates. That's the aliens, right? They just like
The
weird.
ones that kind of look like, I mean, Ridley is like their leader,
Right.
but then it's all the little like, yeah, the weird ones that are climbing the walls and shit. That later on in the game can't be defeated until you've got a certain weapon. They kind of
That's right.
block it, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're for some reason they are space pirates, even though they just look like lizards.
Yeah. They're just like I guess I don't know. Has there ever been any sort of like movies or animes about this series?
There
Like,
was
there must
talk of
be
a movie.
books, is there? Like mangas or something. There must be
That
something.
is that's an excellent question, actually. Um, Metroid extended universe, I guess.
What was it they called it in uni? What's the wanky name for it? Something media. Can't remember. It was all the rage when we were at uni because they were bringing out like Gears books and stuff,
um,
which
beg
I
your
read
pardon.
and convinced myself they were good as well.
Hang on a minute. What the fuck? What's this? Metroid Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Metroid is a Japanese anime film.
The NCU.
Samus Aran's voice is Brie Larson.
What? What?
When the fuck did this come out?
What? It sounds amazing.
It's
Where's...
got Tim Roth in it as well as Ridley.
Oh my goodness.
Um, what? I'm gonna knock Samus over every time I type. Metroid anime.
Alex, you're going to have to get your mitts on this.
Is there a Metroid anime? Castlevania show creator dreams of a Metroid anime series.
Have you
No.
watched the
Yeah, I don't know what I
Castlevania
was looking
show?
at there, but what did I just see there? Is Samus a Mary Sue?
What's a Mary Sue?
um, it is. Hang on. I think.
I've heard of
Fuck
that.
it. I knew Samus was going over there. Mary Sue is a term used to describe a fictional character, usually female, who is seen as too perfect and almost boring for lack of flaws.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, maybe that's why they made her Moni.
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Hmm.
Is Batman a Mary Sue? Of course he's
He's
not.
all flaws.
He's not too. But yeah,
He's nothing
exactly.
but flaws.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, atmosphere, fucking excellent.
Yeah.
We'll come to it later on, but the end of this game is absolutely superb for what it is. But there's so many cool little like graphical things that they do in this, like when you get that the sort of self-destruct sequence right at the beginning, which I'm not sure why is there, but when she goes back to that spaceship where she's taken the baby Metroid, then Ridley and his gang break in and steal it. Then all of a sudden it self-destructs and you've got to leg it, but you've got like all the wavy like Mode 7 stuff. You've got loads of like fog when you first get on ZBs, little like in the foreground. Obviously the music is, what's the word? Kind of understated for a lot of it. It's quite a dark game as well.
Yeah, it is.
Both kind of literally and from its source material. Because when you're going back to get the baby Metroid, once the space station's been attacked, there's dead people just lying there. In fact, they're on the menu screen, like the very first title screen of Metroid. You've got dead scientists lying on the ground. Pretty fucked up for a Nintendo game.
But yeah, Nintendo game, especially during sort of the 90s era, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh, well, yeah, exactly. To think, they've got a plumber saving a princess, a monkey hanging around, and then you've got like a space, pirate killing sort of dark sci-fi murderizing thing. It's weird with like horrible monsters to kill and all that kind of shit. It's really outside their typical genre.
After I finished this game, I went back and I was watching a guy who did the 100 do I play 100% run just to see like fast kind of scrubbing through it and seeing if I'd missed stuff. Apparently at the end,
definitely.
I'm sure you knew about this, but apparently at the end there's like you know how you're trying to get out because the I don't know, is the planet or the ship on self-destruct, and then there's
It's
a
the
bit.
planet because it explodes, isn't it? Right at
Yeah,
the end.
well, this is where I'm going. There's a room you can go in and you can like rescue a bunch of animals and let them
Yeah.
out.
See, this is the most recurring theme of all the games done quick events where they have um, donations read out. For years, everybody was always putting a donation towards whether the speedrunners of Metroid would save the animals or kill the
Ah, right,
animals.
okay.
So if you've ever watched a speedrun from GDQ in the past and you've heard somebody say, "Oh, and by the way, kill those animals," that's what they're talking about. But I did not know where this was. So
So
it's near the end, is it?
yeah, it's as you're escaping. You just sort of, instead of going up, there's a room you can go back to, and you can sort of open a door and let them out. But it's like rabbits and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they're dead anyway when the planet explodes.
Yeah, you're not letting them on your ship, so
No, you've not. You've not really helped.
not really.
No. But yeah, I
If they were
just thought it
behind a
was
blast
interesting.
door, they might have survived.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I wasn't.
Um,
But yeah, sorry.
well, yeah,
Atmospheric, it's fantastic.
yeah. Well, while we're on the saving the animals, we might as well go through very briefly, as David usually does, the story.
Hmm. Well, I'm
So
interested in
yeah,
this because I think I picked up none of it.
yeah. So as we've alluded to a couple of times on this podcast already, this is set directly after Metroid 2, which is a criticism that you could potentially label at this game because of the fact that it's set so soon after the events of Metroid 2, where Samus has eradicated the Metroids on planet SR388, taken the infant Metroid away, and taken it to this Ceres space colony. Why does she not have any of her suit powers that you get by the end of Metroid 2? Like,
Where did they go?
usually these games think of a reason why she loses it, but
Yeah.
this one, the video I watched kind of said he could only surmise that maybe she's eradicated the Metroid, so she's powered it down and been like kicking back, sort of thing. Like, I'm done now. All the
Yeah.
Metroids are gone, so I'm gonna go kick it on the space station, and we'll just have a look at it. Um, So they apparently find that when this is explained in her sort of monologue at the beginning,
Mhm.
that they found that the powers of Metroids could be harnessed for the benefits of mankind. So she leaves the baby Metroid with them, and then because she's a bounty hunter, she's going to go out and do some more hunting. Then she gets a distress signal from the space station she's just left, so she goes careering back. That's when it's all fucked up, and she goes into the room. That's where you find the little baby Metroid in a room by itself, and then Ridley's eye kind of like shines up, doesn't it? And then all of a sudden Ridley's just there,
Mhm.
and you have kind of like a really short boss fight with him where he escapes with the baby Metroid back to the space pirate homeworld of Planet ZBs, which you've
So can
already.
you explain the problem? Like, are the Metroids just aggressive? Does Ridley like the Metroids, or is he trying to sort of take it for his own nefarious ends? What's
Yeah, he's trying to steal it to harness its powers for himself.
right? Okay.
They're not in cahoots with the Metroids, as far as I'm aware. The Metroids are controlled by Mother Brain, which we
Right.
get
Okay.
to right at the end of this game, and we have previously fought in Metroid 1.
So I mean, like, to an extent, fair enough. Mother Brain's angry at old Samus, right? Because
Yeah,
she just murdering Metroids.
yeah.
I assume they're causing problems somewhere, or is she just a pure like Boba Fett? She got paid to do it, so she's doing it.
I can't remember what the plot of the second game is, but it's centered around her eradicating them from the galaxy, like Alien, really. So they find an alien threat. Now we need to get rid of it for the good of mankind. So she goes. She thinks she's done it, but she hasn't.
Again and again and again.
Forevermore,
Yeah,
until she
essentially.
becomes one of them herself,
Yeah.
like Alien.
Which is it's a bit of a shame actually, then, because she's if I understood the ending right, she's basically rescued by a Metroid, right?
Yeah, correct.
And she
The
just
baby Metroid that she's
continues to
already
try and kill them.
from the beginning. Yeah,
She's rough. She's brutal.
yeah. Um,
Sorry, I derailed your story, chat.
yeah. Because I mean, most of the story is just you're going around ZBs trying to find the Metroid that you've had stolen from you.
Hmm.
Um, so
Do you know anything about the scientist that you sort of give the Metroid to? The
Sorry, say again.
The scientist at the beginning that gets, I assume he dies, he gets killed. Do you not like take a Metroid in a box, like proper like Krang from
Yeah,
Teenage Mutant Turtles?
that's from Metroid 2. So she liberates
Ah,
that at the end of that game, and this is it right afterwards. So she's
got
like,
you.
right, we're going to study this now, and this is what we're trying to find. Um, and I'm pretty sure that is the one that saves her at the end. Yeah, it does. So it says, you so right. This is from the Metroid wiki. So it says after
Uh-huh.
defeating all the four bosses and discovering mock droids. Okay, so the Metroids you
Mock
fight in this
droids.
game are not Metroids. They
They're
are
mock droids.
unsuccessful Metroid clones.
Oh right, okay.
Yep, it's MOCH. So I could be saying it wrong, but it does sound like they're just supposed to be like, fake droids.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so then obviously you encounter this giant Metroid before you can attack it. It drains all of your power suit energy. But then it seems to recognize Samus before it finally kills her, doesn't it? Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yeah.
So it kind of like drains all your energy, but doesn't finish her off, and then just buggers off. Then she obviously realizes that that's the baby Metroid that she had saved already. Um, then you obviously go to fight Mother Brain towards the end of the game. Again, you're nearly dead at that point
Mm-hmm.
until the baby Metroid, who is now massive, comes and just expunges all of its energy into Samus, which then gives her this ultimate weapon, the Hyper Beam, to destroy the second version of Mother Brain. To avenge well, they've written here, she avenged her fallen child in inverted commas. And then obviously you completely wreck Mother Brain,
Yeah.
which triggers another countdown. You got 3 minutes to escape the planet. This says here you can save the animals if you want. And then she just escapes the planet and it blows up. There's not massive story to it. But this does have that weird personal moment between her and a Metroid that you just don't expect. Certainly towards the end of the game. I'm assuming you weren't expecting something like that
No, I mean
in this final boss fight.
outside of a JRPG, you get very little attempts at proper like
In '94,
environmental. Is
yeah,
that right? Yeah, like
yeah,
like in-game
yeah.
storytelling. Like, yeah, it's really good. And quite, I found like I don't know whether it's just me misremembering the SNES, but like Mother Brain just seems very detailed in what they're doing. Like the
Mm,
bits that are dripping off her and stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's really, really, really well done.
yeah. I mean, think about Kraid as well. And the next thing I was going to talk about is the bosses anyway, so we can
Yeah.
talk about that now. Kraid is like so big, he doesn't fit on the screen. He's
See
absolutely
when he comes
huge.
back. Oh, I got a genuine fright there.
Hang on, is that
Is it Kraid we're talking about? He's the one. He falls into the lava.
no? That's
Or
Crocomire. But that is fucking excellent. Where
yeah,
you're trying to go back out and he comes busting in again and then
yeah,
just crumples in front of you. That's a wicked little moment, isn't it?
yeah.
No, Kraid's the big giant green bastard who's like 2 screens high.
Ah, right, yeah, yeah. Is he the one that
The one
fire?
that,
Is he the one that? Yeah, he's the one that fires stuff out his belly,
yeah, and the one that when you messaged
belly
me and said
button.
Kraid can get fucked or something. I think you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah. He can.
I do love that boss. I think Kraid's the coolest boss in this game. I think we both struggled on Ridley, which apparently you shouldn't at this point
Yeah,
for some reason.
the video I
Because
was
you've got so
watching.
much health and missiles, you're supposed to find it relatively easy, but you and I didn't.
No, you sent me that video that I watched it before we started this podcast. It's talking about the sort of atmosphere of the game. And it
Mm.
says that
Oh
the
yeah.
guy's criticism of it is that the last two bosses are too easy. I was like, I did not find that at
Yeah,
all.
that was our wall almost.
Yeah.
There's a really cool, interesting thing about the bosses in that in the game's manual, there's a section on every single boss in the game except that Chozo statue that comes to life and attacks you,
Ah, right. Okay.
which is quite cool. That they
Yeah.
number one, it's cool that there's like boss guides in a manual, and
Yeah.
second, that they kept the secret one a secret from you, just so you never expected that statue
Is there a
to come
narrative
to life.
reason for the Chozo statue coming to life, or is that not
I
explained?
don't know. I don't know if there was at the time, but the Chozos are like the Prometheans in the Aliens.
Ah, right. Okay.
Fucking hell. Here we go again. But yeah, so like in the Metroid Prime series, they're a lot more focused around Chozo stuff. They're like the old. I'm sure Mass Effect has their own version of it that you would know that I can't bring to mind right now, but like these old style like creators of the galaxy and all that kind of stuff. They
Yeah.
are like the progenitors of life in this galaxy.
What are they? There are Mass Effect ones. What are they called? Because they
I
made the space
can't.
station and stuff.
Aren't they the big giant things that you only you can talk to as Shepard? Is that the ones? The ones that are attacking
The
everybody?
Reapers are sort of
That's it.
they're the sort of farmers. If you're like a
Yeah.
pig
Okay. Yeah. It's not
getting,
them then, is it? But you
um,
do find ruins, don't you, in
you
Mass
yeah,
Effect of
and
like this old
there's a
technology?
DLC character in Mass Effect 3 that is one.
Yeah.
I want to call him a Promethean, but I think that's just because you've said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is a character. Well, it's DLC. That's actually annoying. That never got the negative press it deserved. But yeah, a DLC character. If you pre-ordered the game, there is an old sort of race character that you discover in a box, basically. If I remember it, I'll shout it out.
So it says the Chozo were an ancient, mysterious, and highly advanced species of sage-like avian sapients that inhabited several planets. Countless ruins and technological wonders are littered throughout the many planets they once inhabited. They're also responsible for the creation of both the Metroids and Mother Brain, that would later pose a threat to galactic civilization. Though they were originally both created for peaceful reasons, apparently.
Yeah. I like the one with the Chozo that you've got to make yourself a ball, and then it walks you
That's
across.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're like, here we go together.
yeah.
Little trek down
It
some stairs.
clears out like spikes and stuff for you as well.
Yeah.
It's a right
Yeah, there's
sneak,
two.
that
Is there
game.
two of them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's one
it
that
is.
takes you down some stairs, and then there's one that just clears some spikes, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two Chozo fights, isn't there? Because there's like a golden one later.
I'm not sure I encountered that one.
Oh, maybe you
I
didn't.
encountered one of. I think I encountered one Chozo, but if
Yeah, the first one where you have to. Yeah, where you have to fight it. I love that. Well, I don't love that fight, but that fight looks impressive because he's so much bigger than Samus,
Mhm.
and there's almost no way to avoid it because even if you go right up against the wall, he still comes to get you. You've just got to keep firing like a maniac.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm remembering that fight now. Yeah, it does that with the bosses, doesn't it? They are sort of imposingly large in a lot of cases. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think of the other ones you've got. Hang on, I've got a list of them here. So there's
Kraid's absolutely ginormous.
yeah. Major bosses. Phantoon is like the ghost thing. Do you remember that? It's in the wrecked ship.
How do you spell Phantoon?
Phantoon. Because you know you've got that before you can get to the last area, haven't you? You've got those four golden statues, and you've got to defeat all the four bosses before it opens up and lets you down into the final area.
Yeah.
So
Phantoon.
Because a lot of the bosses in the game also make noises from the Godzilla franchise as well, including this one. Yeah, not Godzilla noises, but like other characters from Godzilla films. Their noises are basically ripped and put into these bosses. I think Phantoon's one of the easier ones. He's the one who kind of like
if you
phases in and out.
Yeah, and if I remember right, if you rolled into a ball, you could avoid his major attacks, and if you sit in a corner.
Same with the it's not like a major boss, but like the plant thing that swings around.
Mm-hmm.
That one takes ages because it like you have to wait a long time for it to open its mouth and you can get some shots in. And if you miss it, you've wasted like 20-30 seconds.
Because it sort of opened up and you sort of shot into the middle of it, didn't you? I find and it opens up quick. You've got to really learn the pattern.
Yeah,
and know when.
But luckily, you can get some health and ammo farming off of the spores that it fires at you. And then Dragon is the other one before you fight Ridley, which was like the big sort of, I don't know, it kind of looks like a horrible sort of squid thing with a big yellow belly.
Oh yeah. Let me have a quick. Is it DRAE gone?
With a Y in it.
Or AY.
Like a dragon with a Y in it.
I'd forgotten about this boy.
Yeah.
What an odd looking, absolutely horrific looking enemy, some of them. But
it really is. Yeah. Disgusting.
The
That one I don't remember being too difficult either
no, I
because he
think
doesn't
that
really
was
do a lot
okay.
of attacks.
There's there's only a couple bosses I really thought I got stuck on. The last two, and then
I'm assuming by the last two, like for the first part of Mother Brain, you were relatively okay when you just got those weird, like discs, blue disc things
mhm,
firing at you, and you basically just got to gradually make your way through and shoot missiles at
yeah.
tanks or whatever the other things are, like little red bars, aren't they, to kind of keep getting through until you fight a brain in a jar.
Hmm.
But its transition from that into this big hulking bastard thing is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. That one and Kraid gave me a bit of trouble for a little while,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think for the most part, the other ones were manageable.
Yeah, I tell you what I struggled with. Do you remember those two? I don't know if they are like space pirates, but there's like two dudes who attack you, and they do like karate, like spin, like
Oh
flipping
yeah,
karate kicks. They're right
yes,
dicks, those two, because you had
and
such a small window there.
yeah, because they changed color when you had to shoot them. Yeah, oh yeah, they might actually be the most annoying bits in the game, like in terms of difficulty, because that was tough.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Ornstein and
Forgot about
Smaug of
them.
Metroid, right?
Yeah.
I did like how the bosses change color and get more like drab in the color palette
Mhm.
as you do more damage to them. That's a really cool little just indicator rather than having a health bar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Probably the only thing that I wanted to talk about was, the power ups and the suits that you get,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's quite easy to like underestimate just how much this game gives you in terms of
Your character,
upgrades and power
yeah,
ups.
I think we touched on it before, but your character and the way you sort of maneuver around the environment's just so different from the beginning to the end of the game.
Yeah.
And like things that like were problems before, you're just breezing by. There's like even it's the genius of this type of game, isn't it? But even like sections of the game map at the beginning that you come back to later on, you're like, oh, this is a whole new area that I can go to. And then you've also spent 3 or 4 hours prodding at walls, so you're like, oh, I've not
With
tried
your
these
X-ray
walls.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just like walking around looking at those, and yeah, like it actually, like thinking back on it, there is a nice variation on like gameplay mechanics through, because there's sections, there's
Yeah.
obviously like the difficulty of the boss fights, there's the action sections with the enemies that you come around it, that you meet around the area, then there's like sort of trying to work your way around the map to figure out the big puzzles, but then there's also sections that are almost like mazes, if that makes sense. So you've got to try and like work your way through using your X-ray vision, blowing up walls in certain spaces, and it's it really really covers a wide sort of range of gameplay styles, which I think is, again, I don't want to just like beat a dead horse, but again, like to me feels ahead of its time, and unlike something that I had played on
Yeah.
SNES.
Yeah, definitely. And the coolest thing that, well, maybe not the coolest, but one of the coolest things that they do in these Metroid games is they will um sort of what's the word? But I guess like block off getting like non-essential
Mm.
items like missile upgrades or energy tanks behind the hardest, most like skill-based uses of the power-ups that you've
Mm.
had. Did you ever have to, I don't know how much you went backtracking to get like all the stuff, but did you ever have to engage with you've got this speed booster, which is a wicked power up where basically you hold A as you're sprinting and eventually she can just power run through
Yeah. Oh,
everything
it's
in
so
front of
fun,
her.
like smashing through walls and stuff.
Um, did you ever engage with when you're doing that, you press down
Oh, to
and
do
it
the super
stores
jump.
yeah.
Yeah, because there's one I had to. I would love to say I worked this out. Did not. I had to look up a guide. There's a section towards the like sort of last third of the game that you move through, and they're like hiding power ups and missile ups behind like little bits of wall, and like you try and explode them, they don't explode, and you've basically got to like smash your head through them by running fast and then jumping straight up into the area. Yeah, I messed
That
about with that a few
that
times.
honestly, I've played it. I've played pretty much every Metroid game, and that will still confuse me when I look upwards and go, "That's the icon for the speed boost. How the hell am I going to run on the ceiling?" And I forget every game that you're going to store a jump and you jump up, and that
Super jump.
counts as the speed boost. But it's
I
because it's all yeah.
also want to give it a tip of the hat by its way round of oh, David, you hate swimming in games, is to just give you a power up so that you can act as if you're in dry land.
Have a run.
It's
Yep.
absolutely solved it. Yeah. The way to fix swimming in games is to just ignore it.
Yeah. After a while.
Yeah.
That is through the gravity suit, which also lets you withstand lava as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Because
that's
before
right.
that, you have to get the
Yeah, that area when you before I got the lava suit, or there's like an area that's like a really
It's
hot
the
area.
Varia suit. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Absolutely ruins you because you go in and you just like it does not mess about, and that's
No,
brutal.
it doesn't.
Because I was playing it on Switch, so I had like save states that I could use. Imagine playing this in the SNES, like if you hadn't saved in a while, just like inadvertently wandering into a room and then just getting burnt alive. It'd be so gutty.
Falling in the lava or some acid later on. Because I initially played this on the Wii Virtual Console, so I would have been using the saves, and the game took me like twice as long as it did this time around.
Oh really? Yeah. Did you
Yeah,
do
it was
sort
like
of
12
blind
over
first
12
time
hours.
round? Yeah. Did you feel like you had a good grip of what you were doing? Was it memory, or did you just sort of understand the series a bit more? A bit of both.
Well, I still needed a guide because I got hopelessly lost, and I still forgot about the speed boost jump stuff. So I guess not. I guess I've not got any better.
It's funny, I think I said this to you before, but with this type of game, Elden Ring gave me the same problem today. Is if I start one of these games, I need to keep going because I stopped.
Yeah.
I think I stopped for like a day or two playing Metroid, and I turned it back on. I was like, oh no, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah. That's a killer for this one. Yeah, you
Yeah.
need really consecutive sessions. Otherwise, as you say, that map is not going to help you if you need to go to a different area than the one you're in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, there's obviously the other basic stuff that you get, like the morph ball,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually you can turn into the spring ball.
Oh, I like that.
And I really like how a lot
Yeah.
of the times you've got an upgrade as well. You'll have had to do something like extra to get to the Chozo statue that's going to give you the upgrade. But as soon as you've got that upgrade from the statue, the way you get back out again is to immediately use the new move that you've got.
Yeah.
So the spring ball, you probably had to use your bombs to get through like one of them little morph ball sections. Once you got the spring thing, you just jump up and go over the top of it.
Yeah. No,
Stuff
that's
like
really
that.
smart. It's really, really good design because I had a bit of a problem, and I texted you about it. It was annoying me, and it must tell me, and I just skimmed past it. Could not figure out how to use the X-ray.
Yeah.
When I got that, but yeah, like you're right. Like it's really
Well,
good.
yeah, because it's in a menu where everything else is used with the shoot button.
Yeah.
But this isn't the shoot button; it's your sprint button. So yeah, that is weird. And you know what? I think it was probably until the last maybe hour and a half I was playing this where I realized that if you press the X button or whatever the top button is on these fucking controllers, that would unequip whatever it was that you had selected. Took me that long to figure that out.
What does it do?
So you know if you've pressed select to cycle through your weapons, most of the time if you thought, oh my god, I want to shoot something, but I've got the fucking grappling beam out, you would press select until you'd gone right to the end and then got nothing. You press the button at the top, it just unequips and you're back to the laser again.
Well, that's annoying. Didn't know that because I was a way to go. Like it's one thing.
Game changer, mate.
Yeah, because my next question was actually going to like, how did they sort of streamlined the controls, and is it just sort of a lack of buttons on the SNES controller? Because I found like there are moments where you'd want to quickly switch between stuff, and just having to use the select button was just a bit annoying.
Yeah, it was.
But
certainly on boss fights, because you want to be shooting like whatever their little spores are or whatever it is they're firing at you that's going to give you health and ammo pickups, but then you want to be able to switch quickly to your missiles, and then off your missiles again, which to me and you was go from the missiles to the grappling hook to the X-ray thing and then off to the. Whereas now you just press the top button.
I did that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that either. I don't think because you'd never used the button before, have you? And if you had, you probably didn't notice that it did anything until you consciously realised. Like if you were, I don't know, grappling on the grappling beam and you pressed it by accident, you'd figure out what was going on. But if you don't do that, it doesn't tell you that's what the button's for.
Yeah, it's that. I love
really
it's one of the things that I've really enjoyed, and I could see that if we had played this game as adults together in the 90s, we would have had the same effect. Is one of my favourite things about Elden Ring is the sort of discoverability, and the game itself. Like co-op is not just getting in the game together and playing with each other. Like there's an aspect of Elden Ring, and I can see how this would have done the same thing in the 90s. Like you come
Or
to
now.
work and discussing the game. It's like, oh, did you find this? I've been working on this. Oh, I'll find this room here, and like actually sort of collaboratively discussing your way through a game, especially in the 90s when the internet wasn't about, and this was just these things were such mysteries that weren't just easily
Yeah.
solved by whipping your phone out of your pocket and giving it a quick Google.
And yeah, that is a thing that we can never put ourselves in.
No.
You can manufacture it all you want, but the temptation can always be, achieved if
Yeah.
you just think, right, I'm totally stuck. I need to Google it. But I wish I'd played this in the 90s, because I didn't play this until, like I said, on the Wii version, which was like 2008.
It's why, again, I know I keep going over it, but like I really did think about this, and it's such a shame that games. I think it's part of the reason why Elden Ring's so popular and the Souls games are so popular is they do bring back a sense of mystery and mystique in a way that didn't. It's just gone from games. Like I totally agree. I think you touched on this. I don't know if you touched on this in a conversation or via a podcast, but like Horizon Forbidden West is just, to me, just feels so bland and so tick boxy, and just like
Yeah.
the wonder is gone. There's no wonder. It's just all about
And there should be in
being
an
shiny.
environment like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And it's just a shame that games seem to have got themselves into. I don't know what the reason is. Is that they just want they are all sort of product and play tested to within an inch of their lives to the point that like most games like this now basically lack personality. Like, what's the difference between all these games now? They're all just slowly coagulating into this like Ubisoft shape, massive map, loads of icons thing, and that doesn't have to be like that. Players aren't stupid. Like, give us a bit more credit. And like I think in the first month, I don't know where I got this from, but I've picked up somewhere that Elden Ring sold like 10 million copies in its first 4 weeks. And think how big a month for games March was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still done that well.
Yeah.
And I know I keep bringing up Elden Ring, but it's because I'm playing it at the same time, and I just see so many through lines between the way that Super Metroid encourages you to play the game, and it's just such a mystery, and it's about discovery, and that's part of the game. It's not just like games nowadays are just go here, press this button in this order, whereas
When's the next action bit coming?
yeah, exactly. Whereas this game is just so much more than that, and I know, like I say, I keep bringing it up. I just see such a there's DNA between Elden Ring and Super Metroid
Totally
in a
agree.
way that I never knew before I started playing this game.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see if the next one we've got on the list has that as well.
I can't wait.
Castlevania.
I can't wait for you to experience that. Now you've done this part and the Elden Ring part, just to have these all these three games tied together and draw like a line, because Castlevania is a generation after this.
So it is. It's a PS1 game, isn't it?
Yeah, around the SNES era, we're still looking at linear Castlevania games with levels.
I seem to remember hearing that Castlevania was also, it got good reviews in places, but it was quite, there was a certain corner of the criticism that was annoyed because this was like the 3D era, and they just sort of released a 2D game, and I think a lot of people didn't like that. So this is another game, sits alongside Metroid, and it's quite, well, it's definitely not underappreciated now, neither are, but in its day there was some dissension in the ranks.
And a series that really struggled with adapting itself to a new dimension.
Yeah.
Because we probably mentioned this off air, but there was no N64 Metroid game. And in that interim period between Super Metroid and Metroid Prime on the GameCube, anything Metroid that came out was 2D and probably on a handheld, like Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission, both GBA games.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why this series has sort of eluded me. In that, like, I say this all the time, like, handheld gaming is not something I really overly engage with. So, yeah, it's probably why this series has sort of passed me by. unfortunately. I really, really want to play the new one now. I just don't want to pay the Nintendo tax for it.
Yeah, I'll ship it to you because you can have a lend of mine.
Oh, fantastic.
You will enjoy it because it's very good.
Yeah.
It's hard though. It's way harder than this, and that's
Is it
that's what I
really?
was going to say actually. Going
What
back
was
to
the
the point
Wii
you were
one like? Was that good?
no.
Okay. I take it you had
That's
to
actually what
waggle
this
to go into
thing
a
is
ball.
from,
Oh, is it?
which is a shame. But I never admit that, apart from right now, to the entire world. But it was the cheapest one because nobody wants anything from Other M. Now, Metroid 3 on the Wii is great, but yeah, Other M it's like half.
What's the first
Not
person shooter one as well? Is that on a Wii?
yeah, Metroid Prime. So the whole Metroid Prime series came to the Wii, and you could use the Wii remote for 1, 2, and 3 of those. But the first two were on GameCube,
So
and then
so
3 was
Metroid
on the Wii.
Prime is first person. Metroid Other M
Yeah.
is the sort of classic Metroid.
Well, no, it's like a hybrid,
Okay.
which is I think what people don't necessarily because it wasn't Nintendo in house. It was like some
Oh, is it
Australian
not?
thing. And it's like almost like isometric 3D. So you kind of like a weird angle, but there would be elements of it where you would like for boss fights and stuff, it would switch to first person and you'd have to use the Wii remote and then go back to it was really awkward because you're playing it like this and then suddenly you're like sticking it out and then back to this. It was really weird.
I feel like I
It's not
remember you playing
terrible.
that. Yeah.
It's not terrible. Yeah, me and Simon tried to get through it and it's really not that bad. It's just Samus as a character they kind of screwed up. But I think Super Metroid, the new one, another Metroid 2 remake is incredible.
Oh,
I
I've
know
heard people
Nintendo.
talking about that.
I think I still have that on my PC. I'll have to send you that as well because that is Metroid 2, so the game before this, but done in the style of this, and it is absolutely
So
fantastic.
is this like we spoke about this before, but like Half-Life Black Mesa style for Metroid? Right. Okay.
Yeah, Metroid 2 is a Game Boy game. So
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, so there's no way you'd ever want to go back and play that now. It would be horrible. Hence why it's on the box of your Super Game Boy because they're telling you can play it in color now. But yeah, Super Metroid, another Metroid 2 remake, and then the Metroid Prime games are where it's at, and Dread. The first Metroid, well, Zero Mission's good because it's a remake of that. But yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but I wouldn't. We'd need to play them all before we rank them, and that's going to take you a long time because the Metroid Prime games, the Metroid Prime games don't fuck about. And I think there's potentially a anniversary of that this year. That if you so feel the need later on in the year to give that one a bash.
Yeah, well, keep it on the docket when we get to it. I'm tempted to because I'll have a few of them on RetroArch, won't I?
Yeah.
I wanted because one thing I do after when we're doing the Sonic games, I like just sort of poking at different Sonic games, different 2D Sonic games. I might have a wee poke at some Metroid games.
Yeah, I'll definitely send you AM2R if I've got it because that's
good.
I think better than this.
Okay.
But I'd have to go back and have a proper go at it to find out. I think you've summed up this game so well, considering you've come into it as like the Metroid virgin and I've played so many of them. I don't think I can top it. Oh, that's what I was going to say, actually. Going back to what you were saying about like how modern games are a certain way, that's really odd. It's quite weird and ironic that Nintendo are a big part of the reason maybe why that is the case if you think about how the Wii was marketed and who it was marketed to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, games like Metroid have never eschewed that old school development style of we're not telling you where to go. So
yeah.
not going to put stuff on your map for you, so do it yourself. Same with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Just go and explore. They have kept that old school mentality about them whilst trying to open up the market for this extra, like, huge amount of sort of non-hardcore casual gamers that you suggest these Ubisoft shit is pandering to. Nintendo brought them in, but they're not pandering to them. They're making games still the way that they always were, whereas it's everybody else is sort of marketing towards children and whatnot.
Yeah, they're an interesting company,
or at least
aren't they?
lazy people.
Yeah,
anyway.
they're such an interesting company, Nintendo, because they do have they do have the kiddie stuff, like the Wii Sports stuff. Like they do have, but it's not kiddie really. It's just, and this is the thing that I think is fascinating about them is that they're just so unlike anyone else in the industry. It's like where a company will look at accessibility and try and do it a certain way. Nintendo is so unique in the way it does it. You're right, like the games that we're talking about when I wrongly described as kiddie, when I'm talking about like Wii Sports and stuff, they're just really, really easy to pick up and play, and you can like
they're just not violent.
And you instantly know how to
yeah.
interact with them, and you instantly know how to pick up and play, basically. And then they do also have the interesting stuff where, I mean, in fairness, they sort of ignored us for a good 5 years when the Wii was going on properly, but they have returned to like Zelda. Zelda is as good to me and you as it would be to a 5-year-old, and yeah, we'll get different things out of it, but it's incredibly engaging, and it's like Mario does it as well, don't they? In the like they I hate to say this because it's so cliche, but they are the Disney of games, and that like an adult can watch a Disney movie and get something out of it, and a kid can also watch a Disney movie and get something out of it. That are both different things.
Yeah, and they both lock their IPs behind fucking fake vaults that they've made themselves.
Yeah, can't let it out. We've lost the key.
Fuck Nintendo for taking that Mario 64 Japanese guide off the internet.
So gutted. But I was saying to you before, like, I almost felt guilty sending you this because I was like, of course they have. But also it's still annoying and I still want to moan about it.
Yeah, they deserve shit like that.
Like they're not even got any intention of selling it and letting us get a copy of it. Because if I could get a hard copy of that, I definitely would want a little hard just like have a look and read through. But they won't.
They took it off the archive. They didn't take it off of some fucking like pirate ROM site. It was off the Internet Archive, which is a solely non-profit website built for preserving shit. And they took it off.
They're such video game villains.
Fuck off.
Yeah, just go away.
Jesus, people just enjoying your history.
Yeah.
That you can't make money from anymore. Like, just bizarre. Speaking of history, I believe we've had an email that relates to a Winner Is You history.
It's time to. This is, well, we're relating to a Winner Is You history, and we're making a Winner Is You history with our first email read
in over 10 years. Oh.
It is from a man that you're well familiar with, Alex, Mr. Rob Kirkhope. Is that right? Kirkup.
If it was Kirkhope, yeah.
I think that's what I got in my head. I read it and then carried on and then forgot. So I'll just.
The guy's an absolute gentleman. What a man.
So he's
writing us.
Will I read the email, or
I think you should.
Yeah. So it's, hello lads. Hope this finds you well. I gave your podcast a blast and was horrified by your 81-minute bashing of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
He loves that game.
I only purchased this game as I was forced to buy a bundle in order to secure a PS5 last summer. I mean, that's a better bundle than me because I had to get a T-shirt and a hat to get a hold of my PS5.
Oh yeah.
And that bundle came with Ratchet and Clank. Oh, and I had to buy a gift card as well that had money on it that I spent on Returnal. I've played about an hour of it. Anyway, it came with Ratchet and Clank. I considered selling it, but having seen the impressive reviews, you gave it a go and thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish.
Imagine if he'd heard our podcast before he played it. Would have binned it right off.
We might have ruined this experience for him. Its use of the DualSense was ingenious.
That's true.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing they do, in my opinion, in the game, other than the shininess of it.
Yeah.
There was one part in a nightclub, a nice nightclub with friendly alien creatures having a dance and a laugh, as opposed to a real-life nightclub with wankers off their nuts on ecstasy and people shagging in the toilets. Not even in a cubicle, just sitting on the sinks, rhythmically kicking you in the head while you're trying to have a piss. This sounds oddly specific.
He's from Newcastle, so I think we can just...
Oh, he's definitely experienced worse.
That.
Yeah, he's in many ways, he's probably dialed it down for us. And as the music plays, you can feel bass through the pad.
Back on point, at least.
Yeah. Also, the trigger locking up when you were out of ammo was really clever too. Yeah, that was really clever.
That's one of the things they were actually talking about when they prototyped the DualSense, and they were trying to sell us the PS5 before it came out was,
Yeah.
oh, the buttons are adaptive and they'll stop working when you're out of ammo, and there it is.
Do you know?
Realized.
I keep saying I was thinking you're getting a window into the random ping pong thoughts of David as he's out walking the dogs. I actually wonder what might eventually do for the DualSense control is the fact that it is only on the PlayStation 5. So like if you're a developer trying to assign resources, unless you are making games like an exclusive game, it has got to be sort of an afterthought, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Unless
This is always the problem with proprietary gimmicks like that.
Mm-hmm. Because you're right, and like
Nintendo had the problem with the Wii for the entirety of its life.
Yeah, I remember. I think they've got a thing like I've not played it on PS5, so I don't know for sure. But I'm sure I've read somewhere or heard in a podcast that they have a similar mechanic on Call of Duty on PS5 in which your gun can lock up.
Okay.
The problem with is that because it's not an Xbox, it's just a thing you can turn off. So you're actually at a disadvantage to have your DualSense in use if you're playing online, for example.
Yeah.
Turn it off. So it's a shame, really, because it's an amazing. I still think the best use of it is Astro's Playroom, though, because that is
outstanding.
Yeah,
Rob, if you've not played that, play that.
Yes.
That'll blow your shit, mate. That'll blow your shit.
For an early PS5 title, it was a really good fun game. You liked the characters, and you thought some of the comedy really landed.
Wrong.
Has he got young kids?
No, I don't think so.
He's not even got that excuse. Sorry, Rob.
He's just a big kid.
Yeah, like us.
As we are, we all, yeah.
Yeah. The world and levels were varied and interesting. Yeah, that's true, I think.
Yeah.
And overall, I thought it was a solid title, not as Alex described it, as bland as a table made out of the blandest wood. I don't remember this fantastic...
One of my best metaphors, that one.
Yeah, I guess...
We've got to stop doing these at night when we're both tired.
Yeah, I guess...
Fucking hell.
Yeah, the only thing I guess like respectfully disagree with is that he talks about how much he likes it and then just says they were interesting and it's a solid title.
Yeah,
it was solid. It was just good and okay to me. I wouldn't disagree that it was solid, but that's as far as it goes, I guess.
that was our problem with it, if anything. Yeah.
Anyway, despite this, I listened to some more episodes and then found myself incredibly invested in your top 10 games of the last generation two-parter. So even though this is a year after you did yours, I was reading through this before we did this podcast, and I was like, I totally forgot we did this podcast.
I don't know what we put in it.
No,
I don't even know if it's in our spreadsheet anymore, is it?
It might be. I've decided to make my own list. Everyone's list will be different, so I know there'll be people calling me an idiot for some of my choices, but these were the games I had the best time during the last generation. Right, Alex, you can be the arbiter of this. Does Pokemon Go count as last gen, as it came out during the PS4, Xbox One years? If so, that definitely deserves to feature, and would make his top 3. Anyway, since it's not on a console, he's not included it. We lost entire weekend to walking around your incredibly English town playing that game, running about church graveyards trying to catch things.
I broke into a
So you did.
silo. I had to get a boost up from my friend to get in there to go take a gym over. And then I couldn't get out again. I was scared of the height of the jump back down again.
There was a gym.
He caught me though.
I don't live in that town anymore, but when I stayed in Gurdon, there was a gym that was like a war memorial from the Second World War.
Oh,
and
dear.
I used to drive home from work every night, stop outside stop my car outside the memorial, kill whatever kids had decided to take my gym back, and then go home, and then I'd rinse and repeat. So it had to have been children that I was just battling with for about 3 months.
Oh yeah. Well, I bet it wasn't though. It was probably someone doing the exact same thing. They were just getting home a little bit earlier than you every day.
It could have been Murray, our friend Murray.
Could have been.
Just lived across the road.
We sat on a bench in town, didn't we? We found why did we do that? Was there like some kind of, there was something that recharged stuff for you, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's right.
And we were sat right near that, so we would like sit near that, charge up all of our whatever it was, then go catch some stuff on the bridge, and then come back and sit there again. We did that for like the whole day.
Yeah,
we filmed it, didn't we?
Yeah.
I just think that the game's shit though. I mean, it is shit. Pokemon Go is shit.
Yeah. My favorite memories of this game are the sort of incidental interactions I've had with real people, not the actual game itself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because
The
when they made that game in Let's Go Pikachu, we all realised how shit it is. You don't even fight the
Unfortunately,
fucking Pokemon; you just throw a ball at their head.
yeah.
Rubbish.
But yeah, so this is one I can't speak on, and I don't know if I've even heard of this. But Rob's number 10 game is called Blood and Truth.
Yeah, it's a
It's,
PSVR.
it's a PSVR game, and it's like
Yeah.
being thrown into a Hollywood action movie with acting to match and some incredible set pieces. I can't even visualize what this game is.
No, I looked at it and saw all the reviews and was like, "Fucking hell, 9 out of 10. Why the hell did we not even play it?" And then I realised why.
Don't have a
Because
PSVR.
I fog up the lenses and sweat profusely
I was
over the
about to say,
leather
yeah,
around the headset.
you have to put some swimming goggles over before you put
My
the
dad
headset on.
briefly had a borrow of a PSVR, and he
Or
borrowed it so he could play that.
poke some holes so you get some airflow in there.
It does need, yeah, it does need sweat holes.
Yeah.
But my dad only played it for that Star Trek
Yeah,
command
that's
thing.
the one that made me want it. But then I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm not gonna have 4 mates that have also got it.
yeah, fucking hell, that's a Nintendo level of expensive
That is,
multiplayer. You get 4 GBAs to play that
yeah.
fucking Zelda game.
Um,
So yeah, we can't speak on that one.
no,
So
Rob's
for
number
us,
9 is The
yeah.
Witcher 3. He understands why this was the top of our list. It's an epic game. He loved it, or I loved it, until the last 10% of the game where the story elements and characters introduced meant nothing to him at all and really confused him, and it took him out of the game. He had a
No, I
Google
didn't.
what was
I don't think I
happening.
found that myself, but
I was
I
trying to
did. I did
think.
have you who'd played the second one to talk
Yeah, I
to.
was trying to think about what characters he was referring to, and it's maybe about time I need to start playing this game again because I'm now at the point where I'm forgetting things. But
Me too.
I'm assuming, like, I'm trying to think back to, like, the Mass Effect 3 does a sort of whistle stop who's who of the 3 games at the end of it. I wonder if The Witcher 3 does that, and there's characters popping up. The interesting one is, like, and you never had it, you wouldn't have had it either, but, like, Triss is such a major part of The Witcher 2.
You told me that, so I already knew it.
Yeah. Whereas
But
I
without
imagine
you, I
in The
would never have
Witcher
known who
3,
she
she's
was.
just this character you've never met before that you're
But
meant to
he
care
knows her
about.
really well, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I needed you. I needed you to tell me what was going on with her,
so
and because you said you really liked her, and that's why you picked her.
yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like Triss was my sort of Witcher story, even though in the real answer was always going to be Yennefer.
And she helps cure his amnesia in Witcher 2, correct?
Kinda, yeah. But she also just lets him have it for a bit and
Right.
doesn't really argue with him.
Is that why Yen? But he doesn't. Yennefer's not in the second one, is she?
No. So you do have, or at
He
least
kind of forgets she exists and bangs
yeah,
Trish for her
at
whole
least
game. Yeah.
my Witcher Geralt had a full blown relationship with Triss, and at no point did she was like, And I think in The Witcher 1, she's a bit sneaky, trying to get him into bed with her as well.
Okay.
So, yep. Number 8, Days Gone. Yeah, I know it launched with a load of problems. However, by the time I came to play, these were all fixed, and I had so much fun with this game. They played God of War immediately after this and had a far better time with this game. You had a better time with Days Gone than God of War.
Yeah, I can't get on board with that. I mean, we enjoyed Days Gone way after the fact in one of our most recent pods,
Yeah,
but it's not it's not good as God of War.
I've got a soft spot for Days Gone.
Me too.
Rob says the motorbike handling was great and the shooting was really tight. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Don't get him started on how satisfying.
You didn't like the speed of the motorbike, though, right?
Right, yeah, that's true.
The boost felt like it did nothing at the beginning.
Yeah, it just like you felt like you were on this really powerful motorbike, but at no point did I feel like I was ever like really going at pace. It was quite trudging, I thought. The major issue I think I have, like, since we did the podcast about Days Gone, is it does the not Assassin's Creed, Sands of Time. What's that?
Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia thing that it did when it did that sort of cell shaded remake. In that the game, the end of the game is not in the game. It ends on such a cliffhanger that is, I find it quite annoying.
And they're not going to do another one, are they?
No, I don't
I think
think
it's
so.
that's the end of that.
Yeah, it was stuck in development hell for a long time.
It was.
The game, yeah.
I think Rob did agree when I spoke to him privately that the fact that you had to sit in front of the camp waiting for the camp to give you a mission
Oh yeah, that was
that you were just
You
in
had to
is
leave and then come
terrible.
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Number
garbage.
7. I can't really argue with this one. Mario Odyssey, best Mario game he's ever played.
We did not put that in our top 10 though. We
Did we
put that in
not?
the honourable mentions. No, because we said it was a bit easy.
Cappy brought in so many clever mechanics, and I had an absolute blast from start to finish. I think we touched on this maybe in that podcast, because this is not a new notion I've had, but is this the first mainline Mario game that you don't play as Mario?
Oh yeah,
Because you technically must play as Cappy, right? Which makes me wonder, does Mario die at the beginning of Mario Odyssey and you're just sort of his reanimated corpse? Because he gets lobbed off the side of that ship.
Oh yeah. Guess he does. Yeah. Ghost Mario. Yeah, Corpse Mario.
Corpse Mario. Number 6, Spider-Man, fantastic story. Great swinging around New York, finding the Ghostbusters firehouse. I didn't know that was in the game. It was a particular highlight.
The fuck?
And
I didn't know that either.
No. And varied missions that made this a game that I know I'll come back to again. I need to get to Miles Morales. I did like Spider-Man. I think in terms of
Spider-Man's great.
It's a good comic book story.
I'm really annoyed at the fact that it doesn't look like we do have this on our thing anymore.
Oh, is it not?
We've only got the 2021 awards.
Oh, why is that gone? Have we got a limit to how many podcasts we can have?
Oh no, I mean on the spreadsheet.
Oh right, okay, yeah, I am disappointed by that.
Because I can't. I want to see what we actually put in our top 10, but I'd have to go fucking listen to it.
Yeah.
I suppose I could listen to the end, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can. Yeah, you carry on reading, and I'll skip 5, right to the end and see
Destiny.
what we got to.
He lost 6 months of his life.
Fuck off.
To the first Destiny. Every spare minute of his time was spent in this universe. If he wasn't playing Destiny, he was thinking about Destiny. First real exposure to playing a game of this scale with friends and strangers online.
See, we can understand
that, yeah. I've got friends that are still playing this game, and it's basically the only game they play. There's like Murray's into the thousands of hours now on Destiny 2. So,
but we can Apex Legends understand that too.
Oh, forgot about that game. Yeah,
we put that in there, and a lot of people who listen to this would never care about it because they've not played it every day at lunchtime for the last 2 years like we have.
When the Xbox Museum came out, the Apex Legends has been my most played game over the last 3 years, every year. So yeah, I can totally get that.
Right, so I don't know the exact order, but here's the games. So we had Resi 2, Witcher 3, Red Dead 2, Last of Us 2, Yakuza 0, that's 5, I think, Apex Legends, Overwatch, God of War, Bloodborne, and Breath of the Wild.
That's a strong list. I think that's a good list.
I'm not accepting any arguments to say our list is wrong. By the way, we're listening to Rob's opinion because he's a lovely man who wrote us an email. But our opinion is correct.
The official opinion.
Yeah.
He does have some good games in here. Like Breath of the Wild, it's sitting at number 4. A behemoth of an RPG, and can't wait for the sequel. What a game! Yeah, I mean,
that sequel's taking far too fucking long.
Can't argue with that. I want to see what they're doing different. I don't just want another Breath of the Wild that copies everything it did before.
Well, it can do another Breath of the Wild that copies everything but the weapon degradation, and I think I'll probably love it.
Give me some
better story is needed as well.
Give me something that allows me to climb when it's raining, please. So I don't have to just sort of hide in a cave and go make a sandwich till the rain stops.
Such bullshit.
Number 3, Last of Us 2, the moral. You still not played this, have you?
No. I don't think you'd want to do it for a pod, would you? So I don't think it's going to have to be Alex's own time jobby.
I don't know. Well, depending on the timing, get me on the right day and I would play this again. The moral questions raised by Joel's actions at the end of the first game stayed with him for months, yeah. So when there was a sequel announced, I did everything I could to avoid spoilers. And as a huge spoiler inbound, you've read this, haven't you? So it's not.
You've already spoiled it for me. Apparently, I think we spoiled it in that podcast.
Oh, did we?
Because I was so against ever wanting to play it.
Joel's brutal death hit him hard. Playing as 2 opposed characters was really jarring at a time, as how can you play as someone you actually want to kill, but Naughty Dog know what they're doing and they are true masters of storytelling. By the end of the game, everything clicked into place and I loved it. As good as the first, no, but definitely one of the best, finest games of that last generation. I'd agree with that.
You don't think it's as good as the first either?
I don't think it's as good as the first one either. And I felt coming into this, I was like The Last of Us 1 is so perfect, it doesn't need a sequel. But I feel like by the end of The Last of Us 2, they really justify its existence. My thing about it was that they make Ellie into such a hateful character that I really disliked her quite severe. Like, I had quite a severe reaction to her by the end of the game because she became such a hateful character. I don't know if that's deliberate or not, but yeah, there's a.
You also said it was just like relentlessly brutal.
Yeah. There's no let up at any point. It just keeps going. Red Dead Redemption 2 is his number 2 game. David was right with everything I said about Red Dead 2. This game's incredible. Arthur Morgan's story is one of the most compelling and emotionally challenging of any game I've ever played. What a game, what a story, what a world. A must play game. Yeah, can't really argue with that.
I wish I'd enjoyed that game more.
That's the thing, is that like I enjoyed the gameplay. Because like he's absolutely right here. Like, Arthur Morgan's story is maybe, to me, the best story that there's ever been in a video game.
I think you said that. Yeah.
But if you can't get over the hump of actually playing the game, it's hard to see, isn't it? So
yeah, because it's not a small time investment either.
No, it's a 100-hour job, isn't it? So
yeah.
Persona 5 is his number 1 game. You play Persona 5 with no expectations, but it's unbelievably fantastic. The best turn-based battle system in any game. The soundtrack, graphics, and presentation are all 10 out of 10. However, where Persona really comes into its own is the story and the characters. You spent over 160 hours completely in this game, and he never wanted it to end. Alex said on the pod that this won't be for everyone, and this is true, but for anyone who likes JRPGs, if they give it a few hours for the story game mechanics to click into place, will fall in love with it as much as I did. One of my top 5 games of all time, and easy my number 1 on this list. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Rob. I love you.
I need to get through Persona 5 and give it a go.
I had played Persona 4 beforehand as well, so maybe it didn't hit me as hard as it did him. And this is one of our honourable mentions, so obviously it was still up there for me. But because you hadn't voted for it, I think it probably just got booted out.
I think I've played the intro 15 minutes, and that's it.
Yeah, it is. It's an excellent game.
I'm sure I own it, so I really need to.
You probably would, yeah. It's not the best battle system as Chrono Trigger, but we can't get everything right. We're none of us perfect.
We need that's the game that needs a remake.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Chrono Cross remake coming to Switch. Although I believe that's nothing like Chrono Trigger.
So what is?
I tried that I Am Setsuna that's supposed to be like spiritual, but nah.
Is it set in the world? Is that what it is?
I don't think it is. No, I don't. It's not even got the same time travel mechanic either. I really don't know how it's supposed to be canon, but I'd never played it, so.
I'm sure I heard a podcast and they were talking about its link, and I've just totally forgotten it. So I'll be no help to you. But yeah, thanks for the email, Rob. I really, really appreciate that, and it's nice to have an email because we know there are listeners out there, but you never send us emails.
Yeah, and we will read them out you do.
We'll discuss them.
Yeah.
And if you want to send us an email, send us over, write us out your thoughts to awinnerisyoupod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And if you just got some random thoughts you want to throw at us, you can tweet us. I'm at DavidSmiley1, DavidSmillie, and Super Thrillix is Alex. That is spelled as it sounds. Or you can just at a Winners You Pod. I'm still never going to not be annoyed that I made that Twitter account and didn't just call it Winner Is You Pod and let the at be the a. But it's done now for
Winner Is You, yeah.
I think that's it.
You can change it though.
Oh, can I? Oh, I may have to go do that.
I've changed mine.
Maybe I'm going to try it.
Don't you remember the 3 times I fucked you over by changing my Twitter handle every time after we've done the pod and you put it up on the screen?
I wonder if I there was someone I messaged on Twitter asking for the handle because I was trying to make a Twitter for this. And it wasn't.
And he already had it.
And someone was squatting on it and hadn't used it for years. So I tried to get in touch with them saying, can we just have this, please? But
yeah,
they've obviously not used it for years, so they probably haven't seen my message yet. One day we'll have enough clout.
Wish you could report stuff like that to Twitter and be like, come on, lads.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Other housekeeping, head over to goombastomp.com. Thank you for hosting us on their podcast. And
keep an eye out for David's Elden Ring.
Yeah, at some point you'll see that.
Did you see there's an illusory wall in Elden Ring that you have to hit it 50 times
Oh,
before it
it's
opens?
got a health bar, doesn't it? That is so.
That
Yeah,
should be celebrated in certain ways and absolutely lambasted in others.
yeah,
That's fucking dumb, but it's awesome.
yeah. Do you know what's behind the wall? I just heard the
I can't
existence of
remember.
it.
I'm
The-
sure it's massively disappointing.
Oh yeah, it'll be
Be
like
like that
a little rune.
in Resident Evil 2. I think there's a desk in the police station you can go up to. This is the original, and you can click on something and it says, I don't know, like it's a picture of the old team or something, and you got to do that like 50 odd times, and you just get a picture. You just like a picture of the Stars team, and that's it. My friend Chris, who was on our old what was that, Gamatron,
Oh
when
yeah.
we did the Resident Evil special, who knows the games like the back of his hand. He always used to talk to me about how you can press the button like 50 times and it just gets you a pointless picture. So
And
yeah,
that's
I'm
real.
sure it's something similar to
That's
that.
real, is it? That's not like the you seen it with your own eyes. The
He
picture.
showed me it before, yeah.
I was had a slight moment. I wonder if it's the fabled schoolyard rumor that if you jump Lara Croft around our mansion in a certain way, she appears naked on her bed. Definitely
Oh,
wasn't.
actually, yeah. Originally, when you died in Super Metroid, Samus was naked under the suit,
Oh
but
yeah. Oh,
they
naked. Yes,
changed that.
I seen her suit explodes, and she's in her
Yeah, but she's
pants.
got a bikini thing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and originally she was totally naked. And they also took out some sound effects from her getting damaged because it sounded too sexual.
Excellent.
I'm glad I got that in before the end.
Yeah. I guess on that bombshell, Alex, have you got any? Oh, well, I actually seen an email in my inbox today saying that episode 5, the 5th issue of the Sega Mania magazine is impending. So
Yeah, that gave me the shakes because I think it's about to be a crunch week.
yes, Alex, busy boy.
Yeah, I've had to take something off of Tim's hands because he didn't realize he had about 5 reviews left to write. So now I'm going to be
Oh
doing
no.
Virtua Racing. You know that? I think you'd know Virtua Racing if you looked.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look.
You see one screenshot and you'll recognize it, but I've never played it.
Is that like a Sega brand, the Virtua? Because you get Virtua
Yeah,
Soccer, Virtua Tennis.
yeah,
Yes, I recognise that Formula One car.
yeah, exactly, exactly that. I've no idea if it's any good. I bet it plays
Oh,
terribly
I'm interested
nowadays.
to see that.
I'm currently playing Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck.
How do you spell Chuck?
Like throw, you know?
Yeah, Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck.
I feel like the 90s was a real era for like son of stuff, like Son of the Mask and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's just like a basic platformer, really. It's not terrible, but
Oh, it's
this is
called
coming to
Chuck
the
Rock.
end of
That's like because he's a caveman.
he chucks rocks. That's his power in the original
I
game.
was
Yeah.
wondering if it was like some obscure reference saying it was Chuck Norris's child.
Or Chuck Berry.
That just looks like a platformer to me.
Yeah, it's such a like not Sonic Mario game.
What console?
So
Because this has got lots of releases. This has got
I'm
Master
playing Chuck Rock
System.
2 on the Mega CD.
Okay, so there's the Sega CD, there's a Game Gear version, there's a Master System version, Genesis version, Amiga. That's not
Oh,
Sega,
okay.
obviously. Mega Drive
No.
version as well.
Yeah, it's getting to that stage now where you've got like, I've got one thing left to review and it's just like the game sucks. So I kind of have to pull myself up by the bootstraps to
Give
get it
yourself
done.
a slap. Yeah, I've had to do that sometimes.
Uh,
Sound like what, like a 3 month? It was like probably like a 3 week period of me in alien isolation. Was that
oh
entire
my
thing?
God. That honestly, listeners, that's never happening again. If either of us ever dislikes a game we've picked, well, we have as well. Like, do you remember when I was like, let's do Narita Boy and played it for like 10 minutes? Like, we're not playing Narita Boy. Yeah, if either of us ever dislike a game as much as David disliked Alien Isolation again, we are not podding about it. It will just get cut. And I'm sure it has happened since as well.
Yeah,
But I
well,
can't
there's
put
that
it. Neither of us should be
top-down
put through that again.
that top-down game we tried to play that came out.
That was at least a shared hatred, though.
Yeah.
That wasn't like one of us has done it and the other one is struggling through it while the other one waits. That was just we both were like, this sucks so
Yeah.
much.
But yeah, I suppose that brings us to the end of episode 36. If you've been watching us on YouTube, get us on your podcast provider of choice. I think you can. We're basically in everything now, so you subscribe to us on there. If you've listened to us, you can also go and subscribe to us on YouTube. And I think that's all of our.
You can see David's collection of American consoles if you do that.
Slowly expanding consoles that I'm getting back to, slowly building up my collection again. Yeah, I've got.
It looks beautiful.
Managed to acquire myself a Super Famicom and Sega Genesis, which I'm quite a fan of.
And I bought my. No, that's not Super Famicom. That's just a SNES.
It's just a. Oh, is that just a?
The Famicom's just Japan.
Oh yeah, it says Super.
He's got a purple buttons, horrible SNES.
I'm being silly. I even took my Super.
Because I bought a Famicom today for £80.
Yeah, I think that's why it's got it in my head, because it's got my controllers. It's the cool purple buttons. So
you like that, do you?
Yeah, a big fan of that. But I had took it was so grotty. So I basically luckily.
I can see here it's kind of yellow.
Yeah, it's yellow on top, which is annoying. So I've been Googling ways to get rid of the yellowing. So apparently it's peroxide that you put in your hair. If you smear that on it, that can help. So I may try that.
Yeah, try some isopropyl alcohol first.
Yeah, that's probably the place, the starting spot. But yeah, the controllers were so dirty. Luckily, I've still got my screwdriver that can take out the proprietary Nintendo one. So I basically deconstructed it and dishwashered it and then put it back together again.
Nice. I mean, you're never even going to use it.
But... No, it's just clean now and nice. Yeah. I need to make a nice wall thing of all my old controllers.
Oh, that would be cool. Frame them or something.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But that's for another episode, Alex.
Yeah.
I did a weird grunt there. down
for another episode, isn't it?
Yeah, and that brings us to episode 36 of the Resurrected Winners You podcast. I have been David. He has been Alex. I need to get that nailed down and repeat myself. We are a Winners You, and I'm out.
Keep gaming.